I have to tell you that the most expensive thing to get for my boat right now is time to sail.
What are you doing like that, man? Put on your clothes.
It's just that it's very hot.
What's hot? Does not matter?
You are naked on the other side of the camera.
Yeah, but no one sees me.
I do, and I have to live with that image in my mind while I try to read what it says on the teleprompter.
I don't care. Get dressed right now. That's not proper behavior.
Okay, the last breath of fresh air.
There can be no other. Baby, I don't even bother.
Once we've addressed Carlos's objections about bare torsos, this is better, right?
Thank you so much.
The most expensive thing to get for my boat right now, do you know what it is? Time to sail, especially extended time to sail. You can't even imagine how expensive and complicated it is to get a few days in a row, where I can get away to sail and enjoy, but as the gurus and coaches on the internet say, if you visualize it and work hard at it, you will surely achieve it. Well, basically, if they give you permission at home, it works that way. Greetings sailors and welcome to a new episode of The Low Cost Sailor. In today's episode we're finally going sailing. I don't know if you were expecting it, but I was looking forward to putting all my inventions to the test and enjoying all the comforts that I have added to my boat in a few days of solo sailing along the coasts of Cantabria and the Basque Country.
Hey, a chapter about sailing in a sailing channel?
There is, surprise. Enjoy a little solo sailing and the time machine that is the boat in which everything seems to happen more slowly. However, things are not going to start well, nor is time going to go very slowly in this little adventure. Still, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do in my attempt to reach France by sailing. When summer comes, I try to escape for a few days to enjoy sailing alone. I try to turn my usual 3 or 4 hour sailing trips during the week into 3 or 4 days. Getting 4 days for myself, something that was very easy at David BC.
David BC, what's that?
David before the children. Well, now it's very complicated. Work, family, commitments, and trying to make videos on YouTube that can help and entertain you consume all my time, and I stretch my time a lot, but fortunately I had very little left to get out of this routine and enjoy a little the disconnection. I'm not going to lie to you, these 4 days are expensive for me. Ask my wife for permission. Basically, the idea is not to leave her alone with the task of taking care of the 2 children. Convince my in-laws that I have to go away for a few days so they can help us. The truth is that I'm very lucky both my wife and my in-laws are always willing to take care of the children, but when I leave, I not only leave the children to my in-laws, but a complete pack comes, which also includes my wife, who all migrate in droves to their house. And well, then there is also trying to make my wife, and fundamentally myself, see that I am not a bad father for wanting to enjoy a few days of disconnection away from my children. Of course, applying the appropriate compensatory measures, such as going altogether for a week to Marinador, now called Magic World, to enjoy taking care of the children and seeing them truly enjoy themselves while we do nothing but watch. I already told you that it is expensive, but always disconnecting a little and putting on the brakes in this life of running everywhere is worth it.
Go crying somewhere else, eh?
No, I come to cry on TV. My real goal for this recurring trip in my attempts every summer is to get to France. While planning this trip, it was something that I saw as quite feasible. 22 hours from Santander to the French coast at a speed of about 4.5 knots, something perfectly affordable for my boat. If I escaped for 5 days during the week, I think I had plenty of time to do it. 5 days during the week, I didn't think it would bother my wife and my in-laws too much because in the end the children are in kindergarten until 3 or so. That is expensive and not having a boat. But a couple of days before, it was clear to me that I was expected to return on Thursday instead of Friday, and even in the middle trip the thing was that on Thursday I had to arrive on time to pick up the children from kindergarten. In short, it was clear that living slowly was not within my possibilities. At least the forecast this year was good to go in that direction. It started with a couple of days of light west wind and then a good steady wind to start the way back. It didn't look bad. Well, it dawned after all night raining and threatening even more rain. A grey and ugly day. After leaving the children at kindergarten and the car at home, I prepared to go to the boat On my usual bike ride, hoping not to get too wet. Objective achieved. Around 9 in the morning, I was already on the boat, ready to set sail and test all my inventions that didn't work. Basically, absolutely nothing worked. Something was happening in the electrical panel that didn't even work. The refrigerator kept jumping and blinking, but I wanted to leave, and if necessary, I would sail the old-fashioned way, as your father says.
You have to sail the old way like we used to do.
I was satisfied with leaving the minimum working, a quick check, seeing that the Ethernet hub that connects most of the systems had melted, switching the refrigerator to manual and configuring everything to work over Wi-Fi. This allowed me to set sail with some security, holding on to the fact that at least I had a sail and the engine running and that's it, and leaving the Bay of Santander, preparing the lifelines and focusing on what really mattered, the security necessary to be able to navigate alone. In addition, the AIS also helped a lot so that everyone knew where I was going if anything happened to me. Well, it was already underway, and that's what mattered. And the darkness of the sky at least seemed to push me with a cool wind that let me leave the bay quickly. It seemed that I could still achieve my goal if I managed to do the 22 hours at a stretch and sail day and night, but the idea quickly began to disappear from my head outside. The sea crossed did not make the crossing the most pleasant, and immediately that cool wind eased until it was not enough to push me with speed, and I had to start the engine. The sea crossing 1 to 2 meters did not seem to have any intention of abandoning me. The Cantabrian East Coast is more than known to me. I have gone in this direction many times, and it is a spectacular coast full of cliffs and mountains that enter the sea and with very few shelters to hide in. At the height of Cabo de Ajo, with its famous lighthouse, painted by Okuda, the painted part is only visible from land. There the time comes to make the decision. Take a direct route to France or spend the night resting. Before departure, I wanted to sail on the high seas on a calm, starry night, standing guard. But from what I had seen so far, the night was not going to be starry or calm, it was going to be sailing without stopping. With an annoying sea crossed throughout the night, without wind, and on top of that without stars, since it was cloudy, and all this after a night of terrible sleep with my children waking me up 1,000 times.
Don't say that. Say it was because you couldn't see the stars, since your gadgets didn't work.
Oh, of course, to navigate by the stars. I could have gotten lost because the stars couldn't be seen, and how was I going to navigate if my electronics failed? The 3 tablets, the cell phone, the other cell phone, and the plotter that I never turn on? Which is the original one on the boat.
Much better.
Much better to rest. What I decided to try to do was not to continue living fast, and I decided that it was better to take it easy, go near the coast for a swim next to the Sonabia whale, and then spend the night in Getxo or perhaps in the Bay of Plencia to save some miles. To get there you would pass by Cabo de Ajo, Cabo de Quejo and Monte Busiero with its well-known lighthouses. Already arriving, the spectacular Whale of Sonabia appeared before me. This is still a whale-shaped rock, but that does not take away from its spectacular nature. I love this place with its transparent waters protected by the mountains and the famous rock that they usually call the whale. Every time I pass by the highway, I dream of being anchored here again. And it is worth it, and so I did, taking advantage of the stop to eat something, explore a little with the Zodiac, rest a little and take a refreshing swim in its now not so calm waters. That fact, damn the sea, what already made it clear to me is that if I wanted to rest and have a good night, the best thing was to anchor in Getxo, and so I did. I quickly picked up and continued on my way. This time I have already decided to go to Getxo, traveling the last Cantabrian stretches that I had left, basically the passage in front of Castro, to reach the superport of Bilbao and the first of the breakwaters that protects the Abra, and turns the Getxo anchorage into a very protected and quiet place to anchor. It must be said that there are so many boats in this area, and how useful AIS is in these congested places to know which ones are anchored and which ones are moving. I don't want to imagine the people who are up there, in those big ships waiting outside anchored to enter the port, with the little waves that accompanied us the entire trip. You could see the ships moving a lot. I was very tired, and the sunset already announced my time for dinner. A good traditional dinner, what I call dinner, cooking on board without needing to use gas, and with my homemade smoke extractor. All that was left was to have dinner, watch some of my series and go to sleep, as another 10 hours of sailing awaited me the next day, although I wouldn't set any great goal of getting up early the next day, don't you think? I just had to get to Zumaia for dinner, which I had arranged to meet there with some followers of the channel, to meet in person and enjoy a dinner with friends, but that would be another day. It's been a long time since I remembered sleeping so well and so deeply. I think that just for that reason it was worth the stop. Oh my god, how well I have slept. I really no longer remembered what it was like to sleep like that. Do people without children sleep like this every day? Looking at the sunrise while having breakfast was not very remarkable. The overcast sky soon turned into a threatening light rain that led me to prepare the bimini during the Abra departure. How few opportunities do I have to put up the bimini here in the north? And almost all of them are to escape the rain instead of the sun. At least I had a good opportunity to take the boat from the protection achieved, among other things, thanks to the fix that Fausto did a few episodes ago and the possibility of taking the boat with our remote control that you have available in our online store, of course. Well, there you have many things to buy from us and links to buy on Amazon or AliExpress. You help us a lot with those links. The good thing is that this rain also brought a good wind that as soon as I left the Abra shelter pushed me at a good pace with full sail towards Cabo Villano, which until that day was the furthest east I had sailed on my boat along the Cantabric coast. The rest of the way was all new to me. What was not so new for me is that the wind immediately stopped again and I had to return to the engine, helped a little by the mainsail. Between Cabo Villano and Cabo Machichaco, there are a lot of things to see that catch my attention. At sea, a restricted navigation area marked by a set of buoys that includes a large marine wind turbine. It can be easily saved by staying close to the coast, although some sailboat following me was not aware of it and ended up entering the middle of the restricted area and they had to get its attention. On the coast, which is as rough as the people of the north, there are plenty of cliffs with very few shelters. Just a few coves and striking artificial constructions such as La Gaviota gas platform or the abandoned Gorlitz nuclear power plant, which never came into operation although its construction was completed. But the ruggedness of this coast also hides places of singular beauty, such as the Hermitage of San Juan de Gasteluch, which has always been famous for its beauty, but now even more so for having appeared as Dragonstone in the acclaimed series Game of Thrones.
And you didn't see any dragon because the other day, in yesterday's episode, there were a lot of... Well, I'm not saying anything else, that's a spoiler.
Little by little, pushed by the engine, we arrived at Cape Machichaco, well known among the people of Santander more than for the Cape itself, for the ship of the same name that caused one of the most serious accidents in the city when it exploded. Loaded with dynamite in 1893, moored in what is now the ferry station and claiming almost 600 victims, and destroying the first line of buildings on the city's promenade. It was the most serious accident that has occurred in Santander, for sure. The activity around Cape Machichaco was frenetic, and in the AIS you could see a lot of Red Cross and maritime rescue ships coming. It could only be two things, a big accident or rather some type of summer contest, surfing or diving or similar, since they were accompanied by a boat loaded with passengers. We will be left wanting to know what it was, or perhaps some of you who watch this video can clarify it for us in the comments. In any case, Cape Machichaco, apart from sad memories, also brought the illusion of a good wind that once again pushed us under sail towards our destination. This was the whole trip. It was windy for a while, it stopped. It was windy for a while, it stopped.
You just want to complain? Wouldn't you be like this for months if you could?
Well, sure, but with a sleep between now and then, and a meal. Between Cape Machichaco and the island of Izaro, we recovered the illusion of sailing with a good wind that seemed to flow directly from the marshes of Urdaibai, and that allowed us to recover time and walk at a good pace in that section. I'm going to pronounce half of the names in Basque wrong, but sorry. Then reality hit us again, the wind changed direction, eased, and we had no choice but to start the engine again for the 3 hours we still had until we reached Zumaia. The good thing is that I was able to take the opportunity to regain my strength and eat something. A few hours later, I was already dismantling sails and preparing to enter the port of Zumaia, of which the only reference I had apart from the charts and Google Maps images was a famous video of a ship entering the port of Zumaia, devoured by a wave, and seeing how the entire crew flies and falls into the water and capsizes and rights itself again. Well, I hope that wasn't the entrance I was meant to have, or was it?
Are you going to stop the video? A cliffhanger. You're making a cliffhanger.
As if this were Game of Thrones. Will I capsize? Will I make it into the port of Zumaia? Will a wave devour me? Who knows? I, because I was there, and others too. The wave that didn't devour me. You almost all know it.